Hi, I'm Ted Balaker with ReasonTV. Thanks for joining me. Today I'll be speaking with Clay Epstein, VP of Sales and Acquisitions for the Little Film Company.
You may know the Little Film Company from such films as An American Haunting and Tsotsi, a redemptive tale about a South African street thug, which won the Academy Award for Best Foreign Language Film in 2005. Clay, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure, Ted. Thanks for having me.
So talk to me about the Little Film Company and what you do for a living.
My job primarily is, I kind of break it down into three responsibilities. One is to find movies for us to produce, executive produce, and then the marketing of the film, and then the distributing or selling of the film, and selling not necessarily to the consumer, but to businesses around the world that will then distribute the film, which means put it in the theater, put it out on video, and put it onto television.
What's it like selling films to China?
It's interesting. You have a different set of challenges when you sell a film to China. Every film that's released in China has to go through censorship approval. They have a censorship board. They have one that's for films that are going to be released theatrically, and they have a different one for DVD and for television.
Can you explain China's attitude towards releasing films that have anti-government themes?
I haven't seen any written guidelines of the censorship board in China, but from what I understand and for what films you see being released and accepted, it's ones that do not talk about anti-government or that are about speaking out against government.
And it doesn't matter who the government is, right? It's just
right. And ghost stories, ghosts coming back to haunt the kids, that type of story is not going to be allowed.
Something like The Others, they would.
Yeah, The Others, I don't know for sure if it was released in China or not, but I would think it probably wasn't. And those films that are made in China are usually made with the censorship. They usually send a representative from the censorship division or censorship board to visit the set. They read the script before it's made. They visit the set. They work with the filmmakers.
When people think censorship, that China is probably one of the first nations they think of. Are there any other nations or territories that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the Southeast Asian countries have censorship. Malaysia has censorship. Indonesia has censorship. India has censorship.
What kinds of things won't get through this?
Each country's a little bit different. I mean, Malaysia's a Muslim country, so that in and of itself is going to probably have certain, their censorship board's looking for certain things. Thailand has a censorship board, and it changes a lot. I mean, sometimes I'll get a call from a distributor saying, well, we used to be able to show people smoking in a film, and then they come, you know, they call you and say, listen, you have that film, and you know the protagonist, he's smoking away in the movie, and you know the Thai government has now passed a law that we can't show that openly in films because we don't want to promote smoking to young kids. So it's everywhere. Censorship is everywhere. But that was one that happened in Thailand a year or two ago, and I don't know if that ban has been lifted or not, but you couldn't show smoking openly. You can show someone, I think, holding a cigarette but not taking the hit and blowing the smoke out. And
That's the difference between corruption. This is
exactly.
okay.
Yeah, if you're just holding it, maybe you're not.
Cancer.
Maybe right. But this,
No
this,
cancer,
this, you're
cancer.
blowing the smoke out. You're getting the you're getting the
But
toxins.
we have some of that movement is afoot here in the States as well. Yes.
But it's there's a movement, but it's not the government saying you can't release the movie if someone's smoking.
To what extent are moviegoers' tastes universal versus culturally specific?
Yeah.
Like,
when you come across a script, do you ever say, oh, this would kill in Korea, or the Germans are really going to love this?
That's how we have to read a script to see where the value of it is. There was a big rise in horror films the past few years, just completely saturated with horror films because they work everywhere culturally. You don't have to explain to someone who doesn't speak English and did not grow up in America that if someone's chasing with an axe, it's scary and you have to get the hell out of the way. There's no cultural understanding there. You know exactly what's going on in that film. So the opposite side of that is probably comedy, where Borat may not have been as successful in Japan because the Japanese just may not get a lot of that humor, may not get the jokes.
Then you have something like Bollywood in India, where they've got, you know, a huge indigenous industry right there.
Huge.
Are there any other kind of movers and shakers that we're going to see in the next few years? Like
Korea, there was a movie called The Host, which was phenomenal, and the effects were great, and the story was very Hollywood-esque, but it was all Korean. and it was released here, and it didn't do huge numbers, but it was one of the first ones. And the past few years, Korea's film industry has boomed. It's really, really grown very fast. And it's direct competition. You know, the company, a client will say to me, I can't buy your film because I have, you know, I'm already releasing 15 Korean movies that I'm really going to make money on in Korea, and 3 big studio films from the US. Where do I put your independent film? I can't make enough money on your independent film because the audience wants Korean movies or big Hollywood studio films.
You see the emergence of Eastern Europe even as a hotbed.
Sure.
People are going to Romania to make films, Lithuania.
Yeah, well, they're going, and every place you mention, it's a little bit different scenario going on. I mean, studios, people from all over the world are going to Lithuania, Romania to make movies because it's cheaper. Bottom line, they're going to go where it's cheaper to make a film.
In terms of the choices, everything that's out there, is this a good time to be a film buff?
I think it is a good time to be a film buff. But look, you have movies from Korea now to choose from, and from China, and from more movies from Hong Kong, and all over the world, that countries that weren't making films before. Because films are cheaper to make on the independent side, for instance, if you know, someone could just go buy a $4,000 camera and make a film. So I think it's a very good time to be a film buff. Accessibility. You have access to films from all over the world.
And you can check out ReasonTV and
exactly for those
fascinating talks about film. Clay Epstein, everyone. Thanks for stopping by.
Thank you.